Good morning, Allison. How are you this morning?
I am good, thank you, Susan. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to my kitchen.
Oh, it looks gorgeous.
I live in 400 square feet here in Indio, so I don't have a lot of maneuverability for background.
It looks perfect.
Yeah. So, thank you and welcome to the call. Thank you for doing the recording and that with us this morning. We have lots
Pleasure.
of new students that kind of come in and have conversations with me and they ask specific questions. And so we thought, wow, maybe it would be really great to have some of our graduates talk about their experience. And then it's coming straight from you guys.
Fabulous.
So if you're okay, we're just going to dive in and have a quick, maybe 10, 15, 20-minute conversation. I've got three key questions that I want to ask you. And yeah, when you're ready to go, let me know.
All ready to go. And I just apologize in case there's any funny noises in the background. It's the dog. It's my
Oh,
therapy
no
dog. It's right
problem.
here.
And you are where?
I am in the UK currently. I was in Europe when I did the course with moving the human spirit, but subsequently I moved to the UK after that.
Okay, nice. And you graduated when?
21.
2021. And
Yeah.
you did our TICCA program for
Yes.
certified coaches.
Yes, I did. Yeah, it was great. It was such a wonderful course. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, well, let's dive in with that. So, first question, what inspired you to become a trauma-informed coach?
Oh, the lived experience, first and foremost, was just noticing the patterns of both myself and then how that was filtrating into my kids, which are now adult kids, but also then identifying all of the parts of me that had experienced different traumas and adversities through my life. But then identifying also the ancestral trauma that was already part of my DNA makeup. And it was, I'm actually a functional medicine practitioner, but many people who were coming because of the biology of the traumatic experiences and the illnesses and the state of dis-ease in the body was like, whoa, this isn't, just a symptom. We need to find out what the root is that's creating this symptomology in their body. So for me, it was like, okay, let's get certified in trauma informed coaching so I can be far more aware, far more compassionate, far more understanding, and really have not sympathy, but an empathetic approach to where they are at when they're coming to me with these symptoms so that we can really start to peel away the layers,
Yeah.
notice what's coming up, and then being able to allow space for resourcing for them, not just, oh, here's a new supplement, here's a new this. So yeah, that was my real, that's a very long-winded answer to your question.
No, it's great.
Um, but that was the reason why. And yeah, moving the human spirit was something a training course that just really stood out to me to do that with.
Yeah.
Sorry for the beeping.
Yeah, no, just when you touched on, peeling back the layers, I call it peeling back the onion.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's just so many different layers, and yet as you get deeper and deeper into that core, it shifts. Everything shifts for your client.
Yeah, totally. Because otherwise, it's just a very superficial layer, and you're just on the surface layer of things. And we have to peel it back. We have to, if you think about opening the blinds or opening the curtains, you've got to do that to let the light in. Otherwise, it's in the darkness, and yeah. So it was really important for me.
Good, perfect. Okay. There was another question that popped up there for me, and it's totally gone out of my head. Okay, so well, tell me actually, let's talk a little bit about what shifted from you being a certified coach previously and the type of clientele that you had to now being a trauma-informed coach. Did it change your clientele at all, or was it just the discussion that changed?
I think both. So it was a yes, and then things started to develop. So people would come because they had symptoms. So with functional medicine, be like, oh, have you got non-alcoholic fatty liver? Or have you got gut dysbiosis? Have you got this? Have you got that? Be like, yeah, that's me. That's my symptom. Da da da. And then it would be the conversation can change as, have you ever noticed that this happened when you remember this, or when this happens, are you in this situation? I'm also an eating psychology coach. So it was a case of many people with eating, disordered eating, emotional eating, all the rest of it. It's like, wow, actually, we can pull that back to childhood. We can pull that back to a traumatic event. I noticed that I behave like this when that happens on the triggers. So, yes, the conversation definitely changed because it gave me such a greater insight to listen. We've got all of that listening perspective of how we hear differently. So we
Yes.
can always listen but not hear, or we can hear and not listen, but actually it brings it together. So you're listening to the client, you're listening to what they say, you have a global approach to what they're saying, and then an understanding of what the underpinning part is, rather than just, okay, that's your symptom, let's go, that's what we're doing. It's like, okay, let's move that through. So yeah, greater open perspective, and to be more objective to what's happening. So their experience is, I'm using all the if words, is subjective. So, their experience was theirs to experience. Their
Yes.
symptoms may be very different to somebody else's. That experience might have been the same as somebody else's, but the way they experienced it will be different to how somebody else would. So
Yeah.
again, it's just that much, much broader approach of compassion and awareness that, wasn't really there before. Because the lived experience of trauma is one thing, but when you're understanding the psychological, physiological, neurobiological aspects of how it changes within a person, then those are the things that I wasn't aware of before doing the TIC training.
Yeah. I remember the very first time, after, doing a lot of trauma informed, like the coaching and everything and that. And there was one time uh, somebody asked, what are you talking about? When you are talking about, well, different people experience different things. And I use the example, I'm the youngest of five girls, and we're all at different ages and, of course, different stages in our life. And when a traumatic event happened in our family, even though we were all there at the same time and experienced it all at the same time, now as adults, when we talk about it, we have very, very different feelings and experiences in that around it. Yet
Yeah.
it was the exact same event.
Yeah, so true. So true. And that was another reason why I wanted to do this work, was because I think Gabor Mate talks about that, it's like, even if there's five of you in that family and you have the same parents and you're in the same home,
Yeah.
each and every one of those five siblings will have a different experience of your parents, because your parents will be different parents to each and every child, because the first child will be different, they're younger, than the last child, they'll be much older, and they will have had four children in between that. So it's a
Yes.
very different experience. So again, it's like having that understanding, where people think, well, you grew up in the same house, you have the same parents. How can you have had a different experience? How can you be different? And it's like, again, it's that subjective approach, isn't it, to understanding that individuality of you being you and your experiences being yours and uniquely yours to honor and appreciate and grow through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you for answering that for me. Okay, question
Sorry.
number two.
Went ahead.
What is the most rewarding part of your work as a trauma-informed coach?
I think it's allowing the sense of self to come back. That's in a very quick, not thought of, top of my head answer. Because it's the sense of self that can be so lost in the process of trying to heal. And again, that's a word, trying, where people are, looking for a resource that's going to help them to move through, and some things won't work and some things will, but it's that sense of self that can be so lost in that trauma process and allowing people to see that how they've changed because of their experience is okay, and how they are now is okay. And we can work to moving further forward into being different to how they are right now. And that means that they may currently still be living in a fight or flight, or they may be in a freeze or in a fawn. And if, I'm sure the people who are coming to watch this will understand what those words mean more so in the sympathetic, parasympathetic. And it's been able to see, I work with women more so. I chose not to work with men from a previous experience that I didn't want to. So it's about enriching women on a deep cellular level so that they feel connected to self. And I never say reconnected, because they may never have felt connected throughout their lives at this point. So I refrain from using reconnect and always use the word connect to self. And I think that's one of the most important parts that I like to bring to this work.
Nice, nice. How has it impacted you?
Oh, massively. I mean, I wouldn't be having this conversation before, it would be like a lot of triggers would still occur. I wouldn't have the resources in my nervous system to be able to regulate. I would be reactive rather than responsive. I would have knee-jerk reactions rather than taking a pause, taking a moment to think about how my body is reacting with that. Therefore, how should I respond, or should I not? So the work itself has had a great impact to be able to coach others and to listen, as we said before, that global listening, but also on my own personal impact is like, I don't need to respond to that. If I'm activated because of a message somebody from my past has pulled up, I don't need to respond. I don't need to get back into my fight, flight, response. I can just allow it to be and deal with it at a later time, whether I feel calmer or not deal with it at all and let it just be. So I
Yeah.
think that's a huge step for me. And I wish, if only I'd had this work like 14 years ago, but I have it now, So yeah, it's made a huge difference personally and for others.
How long were you a coach, a certified coach, before you took the trauma-informed certification?
Well, I'd been coaching as a health and wellbeing personal trainer, Pilates coach, masseur, health integrative coach for nearly 25 years before. I did an integrative health coaching certificate 3 years before I did Moving the Human Spirit. So yeah, so quite a long time, but in different ways, different approaches, different mentalities and mindset approaches to lots of things. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you touched on a little bit about your niche. You touched on that you work with women. Is there a specific niche that you have? Like if I were to go and look at your website, what would it tell me?
Now, there's the million-dollar question, if I could literally pin that down. I don't have, many people say work with a particular woman that's this, has this much money, does it, an avatar. My approach is, if somebody finds the work that I do, then that's the right woman who's come to work with me. And if I find her, that's the right woman that I'm ready to work with. I don't believe that there's, she's a CEO of a business, she's got 4 kids and all the rest of it, because she may not. She may be a mum at home that is dealing with her internal difficulties of the past. And she finds my website and decides that I'm the right person to work with. So my niche seems very broad, and I'm always told off about this, but it is for the woman who's ready to feel that enrichment on a deep cellular level.
Mm, I love that. A deep cellular level.
Mm,
Yeah. I think,
yeah.
you know what? I think that resonates probably with a lot of women,
Mm,
right? Because I think we feel things so intuitively and deeply that, yeah, definitely that would resonate.
yeah. And again, that's part of working with the tick is, a lot of women feel disconnected to their intuition because they haven't felt safe for such a long time, whether in their own body or in the circumstances that they've been living with. And I think that's very much a way to resonate with women as well, to really feel that. And it's like, well, I don't know what that feels like. I've never felt that. Well, let's take a moment to sit and pause and, you know, feel into your body to see how that would feel. And it's not a, I think it's very challenging if somebody has experienced a lot of trauma that they've never really felt safe in their body, never feel and dissociated and disconnected. So being able to connect, like I said earlier, is a big thing. So connect to what's happening with my foot while I sit here. Oh gosh, I notice that it's twitching, or I notice that I pick my fingers, or I notice that I fiddle because it makes me feel safe. It's noticing those parts. It's like, actually, yes, I'd like to let go of those parts of me, that protector parts of me.
Yeah, nice.
Mm.
Okay, question number 3. What would you tell a fellow coach considering adding trauma-informed coaching to their toolkit?
I think in the world that we live in right now, it's an absolute no-brainer to go ahead and do that so that you are supporting yourself in the coaching industry as well as the people that come to work with you. Because the more aware you are of how you are with others can be so powerful and empowering in your business and for the people who you're going to be working with. So I think, yes, definitely in the world that we live in, to be trauma informed is, I think, will have to be the coaching regulations. We'll need to, bring it on board that more and more and more people need to have this.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, there's been a huge shift in the world since COVID.
Yes.
And the fact that mental health is now in the forefront, and it's not, stigmatized like it was previously. It is front and center, and there's a lot of people and um, moving through things that they had never experienced before.
Absolutely. The life itself, the socioeconomic issues that happen, the issues that are going on in the States at the moment. So there's that global impact of things that are happening around the world. And it's all of the different words that, from doing the training, I was able to understand, such as the moral injustice of what's going on.
Yeah.
So we can feel that it's okay for us to feel something that we have no control over. For example, a war that is happening in different parts of the countries, the political side of things, that impact is okay for us to feel, but then how can we resource ourselves or others, even if we're not directly in it?
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of being aware and having that informed approach through an informed lens is, if somebody comes to one of the new coaches that's qualified, and was a business coach and so on and so forth, and it's just do, go, go, go. It's being able to understand what's really going on behind that in that defense mechanism to push through and moving away from what's really needing to be dealt with at the time. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It wasn't verbalized quite as well as I'd wanted it to.
Well, you know what? I mean, I think we all have our internal way of having this dialogue and that with ourselves. And
Mm.
I always believe that as long as it makes sense to us, then it will make sense to somebody else as well too.
Yes.
So for